Welcome back to Professional Wrestling, the podcast where we're bros, not pros. I'm your host, Jonathan A. Hacohen, author of the Bible 3.0, the Six Commandments of the Chosen Life. If you want to build your life systems and find your chosen life and be the best and happiest you can be, check out my book. It's available as an audiobook, ebook, physical book, Amazon, Indigo, Barnes & Noble, and wherever fine books are sold. And if I see you on the street, I will sign it for you. I won't say no. And another guy who won't say no to sign an autograph is my good friend and a friend of our show. He's my co-host today. He's back again. He is the one, the only Hamilton Pro Wrestling Zone, Van Landon. Van, welcome back to the show.
You nailed that. That was awesome.
I was a ring announcer in a previous life.
There you go. I'll say you're giving my good friend TCO, Tyler from Canada, the Barry ring announcer, you're giving him a run for his money with that one. Watch out, Tyler.
Samantha Irvine ain't losing no sleep. Trust me on that one. She is freaking set for life.
Oh yeah.
And Ricochet, really? That's who she wanted to pick, eh?
I mean,
I was single.
He's pretty Ricky, I guess.
I don't know. I think I'd be more fun than Ricochet to hang out with, but whatever. Everybody likes their own cup of tea. Maybe because I have too much hair.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
That's
You're doing yourself the disservice.
You know what? For Samantha Irvine, I would shave the head, yes.
Okay.
Now, gotta go to greener pastures here because AEW, while they're on a huge swing and we got the Elite taking over and Tony Khan, he's getting run roughshod. Tony Khan's got a bigger problem to fry right now, and I think it's in the underling as far as the problem with the roster. Now, took me about half an hour to scroll through the men's division of AEW. Every single person known to man is on the AEW roster for men's. Do you know that they have 121 male wrestlers listed on the AEW roster right now?
No, and nor would I have even guessed a number over 100. I would have, if you said Van Landon, guess how many male wrestlers on AEW there are, I'd go 85, 90. You said 121?
121. And that's why you're watching an episode of Rampage and one person is the main event of Rampage one day and I don't see him again for 2 months. Go figure. And they don't do house shows, right? Like they don't do anything besides Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage.
That's it.
So when Swerve's out every single week for every single show because there's no draft or anything along those lines, got a lot of people sitting. But on the women's side, only 38. But still enough to make a tag team set of belts, I think. If I am now looking at this as Tony Khan, I think I have a huge opportunity here because I got Ring of Honor and I got AEW and I have all this potential. The issues being is, we talked about this in previous episodes. Where do I go watch Ring of Honor? I have no idea when it's airing, how it's airing, whatever. I have to go buy a subscription for that online. And I only want to watch TV on my internet. I want to watch it on my TV and I don't want to stream it and screencast it and all this crapola. And then I had to pay $8 a month, but if I sign up for 3 months and I can pay $4 a month, I pay $4 a month to watch Rampage and Collision on TSN Plus in Canada. So because we don't get it here on normal TV because we're in Canada and that's the way it goes. So I do get to watch Rampage and Collision. That's fine. Now, if I want to go and watch the pay-per-view, I got to pay, I think, $60.
50, 60, somewhere around after tax 60 for sure. Yeah.
There's one way to solve all of this dilemma. And with all these people, it's like, let's streamline our lives. Let's go and make a contract with Amazon Prime. And then we can have proper time slots and we can put so a wrestling fan of AEW can watch all Ring of Honor properly. Because the truth is, Van, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I still watch Ring of Honor, I don't really see half the time the difference between watching an episode of Collision and Rampage. It all seems like the same thing to me. The Ring of Honor and AEW people are interchangeable between Ring of Honor and AEW. So why don't we have a set federation here? I know in WWE, sometimes they go to visit over at NXT, but to me, there's no real set Ring of Honor people because they're defending the Ring of Honor belts on AEW. But I'm so confused. Please help me.
I so you're right. WWE for a long period of time, Raw, SmackDown, this is even prior to NXT, they would all intermingle, all exist, all cross over. There were no brands, so to speak. I remember Fox picked up SmackDown, and that's when they did the big draft. And oh, we're going back to having proper brands. And even that only lasts so long when you have unified titles, champions that have to cross over, and his opponents from SmackDown, but we got to do it on Raw. So even that got all blurry. But what a lot of fans, especially fans in this sort of male, at this point, 22 to 33, and even 33 to 44 demographic, what that demo is used to is the old school true brands. Raw versus SmackDown. They made video games about it. SmackDown versus Raw, true brands that when they got to a Survivor Series or a Royal Rumble, when those wrestlers got to intermingle with one another, it was a big deal. It was a big deal to see Maven wrestle Shannon Moore, even though they're both cruiserweights from Raw and SmackDown respectively, but
Shannon Moore.
they don't get to interact otherwise. And so, where we're at with AEW, and you hit the nail on the head. The Ring of Honor titles are being defended on Dynamite Collision Rampage. You have the Ring of Honor champions coming out without the titles on those same shows in other segments. It's all very blended together at the moment, and it's hard. It's hard and it's not hard because you have the situation Ring of Honor's in being the web exclusive behind a paywall show. How do you continue to get exposure on it? Well, I mean, you for starters, why does it need to be behind that paywall? You had Dark and Dark Elevation. A lot of these Ring of Honor matches are Dark and Dark Elevation matches with a Ring of Honor apron up. That's all it is. So, even YouTube for free for people. And I'm sure there would be a stronger weekly fan base tuning into, pardon me, a stronger weekly fan base tuning in to watch it than forcing people to have to pay. I know that if I was a little kid right now and I didn't earn my own money, but I love wrestling, I would love to be watching Ring of Honor. But if I had to go to my parents and say, hey, I know we got Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, and everything else, but can we get Honor Club so I can watch Ring of Honor on Thursdays? That's a hard no from my parents, at least. And for some kids, they might get it, but it's a hard no for a lot of people to justify paying for an extra streaming service.
Especially when you got to pay $4 to $8 a month for TSN Plus to watch already Collision and Rampage, and you got to spend $20 plus on Sportsnet Plus so you can watch all the pay-per-views. Yeah,
It's
but
so much. It's all too much. And for the rosters to be amongst just generalized across AEW, a hard brand split, a core Ring of Honor guy. Sure, you're gonna have to upset some people and relegate them to Ring of Honor, but wrestlers can get over themselves because we're not the bookers. We're the wrestlers. Get paid to do what you're told. And so if you make it to AEW, cool, you're on those shows. If TK needs you in Ring of Honor, do those shows and have that as a separate brand to build its own equity. And then who knows? You could do your own invasion angle at that point. Ring of Honor guys are sick of being on Ring of Honor online and they're attacking Dynamite. And the angles write themselves. The roster, 121 male superstars or wrestlers because it's not WWE. And yet, you're right. We see the same handful every week, depending on where you're looking.
and there's some that are Lord knows what's going on with them. So we got to fix the TV situation. We got to fix the federation's differences. We got to fix the branding in between the shows, and we need some continuity. I think we need proper TV contracts, and we need to get them onto the big time. And maybe now with WWE moving to Netflix, maybe USA Fox comes back to AEW and says, okay, maybe we can air Ring of Honor at 11 p.m. Instead of poker
Yeah,
or slap fighting. You know what? I'd rather watch Ring of Honor than slap fighting. I'd rather watch it than dogs diving off diving boards, or they have the dog shows. From
yeah.
the where they're walking with their dogs. That's what
Westminster Dog Show. Oh
that's right.
yeah.
That's what's on 11 p.m. Can I please watch Ring of Honor instead? Because New Japan is on and you have TNA on. They found a way to get on to cable, Fight Network, wherever they can find. Let's get Ring of Honor. Let's get going.
Yeah.
So we got to fix so many wrestlers. So I'm going to go either by name or by faction. You'll go first on the one, then I'll go first on the next, and we'll alternate. And each of us are going to come up with a plan on how we're going to fix these wrestlers because some of them need a lot of help from us.
Oh, okay. 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 Little bit of a fantasy role. Well, let's see what old VL can come up with for some of these people.
So I'll give you I'll give you one that you can really bite your teeth into because I gave you the list, but I'm not going to tell you the order of them necessarily. But
Okay, okay.
let's start off with this guy because I've never understood him for as long as I've been around. I never really liked him as a champ when he was. I don't get the whole shtick with the country and the thing and the that. And it's Hangman Adam Page. Please tell me why this man has a job and what are they going to do with this man to fix him because I believe he was part of the elite at some point. Maybe he could join Blackpool Combat Club. I don't know. Like, where is your head at with Hangman Adam Page, and how are you gonna fix him?
Oh boy. Hangman Adam Page, the cowboy, the anxious millennial cowboy, as
Yeah,
he was sort of coined. I don't think he ever called himself it, but I know that that
hope
is
not.
definitely what so many people would call him. I loved Hangman Page's run from day one AEW until he lost his AEW championship. His story arc of the internal battle with himself, of feeling not worthy to be in the elite, and the mental road that it took him on, ostracizing him, him sort of self-destructing, him pulling himself from a lot of things, him ruining his friendships. It was very real. And it was during the pandemic, and it was when all eyes were on it because that's all we could do was watch it. And he
I did
really
not. I did not. Sorry.
real and
Yeah,
he and so
I couldn't watch it like that. I just couldn't deal with it.
I mean, I had nothing else that was going on, so I could throw that on Wednesdays. But during that time, that's where Hangman peaked, arguably, in AEW. His,
Absolutely.
his whole storyline led to him winning the title. And when he failed the first time, and when he was tag champions with Kenny, it was all perfect storytelling to get it to his title win. And then the CM Punk stuff starts happening, and there's they were shooting on each other in the ring, and he said this and you shouldn't have said that, and I don't like this guy. And that is where the crowd got divided on Hangman. That's when, oh, we love this guy and he was a great champion, turned to, actually no, I like CM Punk more and I'm going to be on CM Punk's side with this, and we're against Hangman now. And ever since then he hasn't had that same, to
Je ne
your,
sais quoi.
yeah, he hasn't had that same feel. Even when he was contending in the later half of 2023 for the AEW World Championship, he was contending against Swerve, contending against Samoa Joe. He was in the heavyweight shuffle then. Even then, you saw the cracks in the foundation of Hangman, and you knew that Swerve was leagues ahead of him. And that storyline ends. Where does Hangman go from here? It's tough. It's tough to say because fans want to cheer him, and I think he himself is a better baby face than he is a heel. It's kind of hard to be the evil cowboy and make it all make sense, but fans got behind him. For him to come back now, I think the story is written for him to challenge Swerve. He's not going to be able to win. Maybe it's a TV special, a Fighter Fest, a Blood and Guts, a Dynamite episode title match, because I don't see it happening at Double or Nothing or All Out or
No,
Forbidden Door,
please.
none of
No.
those ones. That's not where that's going to happen. But, there could be a Texas death match because that's been his match. He comes in, he does Texas death matches, and then he goes away for a little bit. He comes back, he cooks a rivalry up, does a Texas death match, and then leaves. Maybe what's needed for him is something like the Blackpool Combat Club, but I just don't see where he even fits in there. I still see him being as the odd man out. He's very much a lone wolf. He was a lone wolf when he was in Ring of Honor, when he was first starting out. When he joined Bullet Club, he was a lone wolf because he stood out. When he was in the Elite, he was the hangman. He was the one that wasn't in WWE and wasn't the Young Bucks. It was always standing out. So for Hangman, for him now, I guess the best advice that VL could give him is for him to do what he does best and stand out, but find a way to make that a meaningful standout.
Is Hangman Page a poor man's Drew McIntyre? Because you know what? They have the same dilemmas in life. They both were COVID champions. They both blame everybody else for their miseries. Kind of feel like this is a Drew McIntyre type situation.
I've never thought of that comparison, but I'm with you. I see that now. I would love to see that match. Oh, but those are two hosses fighting, but I see what you're getting at with that point. There's definitely something to that.
So if we do a Forbidden Door, a real Forbidden Door, and we have a WWE versus AEW Forbidden Door, and we do Drew McIntyre versus Hangman Page for the unified uh wrestling COVID championship.
One of them gets the true title win in front of fans. Drew's got
Correct.
cashed in on, so does his really get to count?
If you were to put in Las Vegas and you put a real Forbidden Door between WWE and AEW and all the stars were out, and you do Swerve versus Cody or Swerve versus Drew McIntyre or whatever you're gonna do, or Hangman Page versus Drew, and you start putting these dream matches together, and you got the Bucks versus who are you gonna put in WWE as a tag team?
Usos, Bucks and Usos
Bucks
never
and Usos.
happens. That
Okay.
has to happen.
Everybody who's ever watched wrestling in their life will watch that Forbidden Door.
Yeah,
Hangman Page on his own with that silly mustache. He looks like Magnum TA from back in the
he
day of
does. He's got a Magnum thing going right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Magnum PI took it from Magnum TA, or Magnum TA took it from Magnum PI in real life. Anyways, all I can see is Blackpool Comic Club because those guys were all kind of loners who kind of formed together. And I think he needs to go join the Blackpool Comic Club, get them to train him properly. He needs to get a little bit of an edge or find another cowboy dude somewhere out there. They need another cowboy guy. Who there's NXT guys that are oh, you know what? Bring in Brooks and Jensen. You know what? Brooks and
Oh,
Jensen, when they get fired from from NXT, bring them over to NXT and they can hang out with him. There you go. Hangman and Page, Brooks and Jensen. That's the only way, and he's gonna mentor them. And now they can be the six-man tag team champions as the Cowboys.
and it would make sense.
There we go. That's the only way.
I'm in.
Otherwise, he's got to go to the Blackpool Combat Club. Um, we've already kind of talked about this one last week, but I'm going to bring it up again. Is Adam Cole and Wardlow and the
Okay.
Kingdom, and I'm going to stick behind the prediction. And the only way with them is to have them go and protect Swerve and join up against the Patriarchy together with the Mogul Embassy. And I think the Swerve rub is what they need at this point, and they got the personalities for it. I like Bennett and Taven a lot. I think them and Swerve and kind of having his back. I'm still going to stick with that one.
Love it. Love it. Bennett and Taven play the perfect henchman role, and Wardlow and Adam Cole bring just the right amount of star power to solidify that. I'm hoping this happens.
All right, I'll give you the next guys, and these are the guys that scissor you daddy, you know. Um, if AW, they had the momentum, they had such a strong thing going. Everybody loved the Acclaim. They really did love the Acclaim. So they took their best tag team and their most popular tag team, made them into a jobber six-man tag with Daddy Ass. Now they don't even hold those belts anymore. How are we going to save the Acclaimed? I have a pretty good idea. Let's hear yours.
And it's an answer that I would never want to say, but they got to get rid of Daddy Ass. Billy Gunn is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Of all time, he was
Oh,
one of
you
my
didn't
favorite.
know?
Oh, you didn't know. One of my favorites from day one of being a wrestling fan. And for me to say that, like, it sucks. And I don't want to have to say that, but for the Acclaimed to find their stride once again, VL's prediction, what VL would suggest would be drop Daddy Ass, focus on Anthony and Max, and have Max Caster start cutting some of the most ruthless Kendrick Lamar-esque raps on his way to the ring as they turn heel, refocus with an edge to them again, that edge that they used to have on AEW Dark back in the day. They got so popular, people loved it. But start being evil again with it. Start saying some naughty things, Max Caster, and the work will speak for itself inside the ring. But for these guys to get back into that tag team division and really hit stride, let's switch it up. The fans are already sort of on you guys, so let's just go all the way.
I know the best way to do it, and we gotta just follow the Uso recipe. So you do need to break away with Daddy Ass, yes, and Daddy Ass is gonna turn on them and go hang out with his boys, right?
Yes,
And so they're gonna
that's
reunite with Daddy. That's gonna come at some point, yes. Jay White eventually is going to get sick of their shtick, and he's gonna head off because he needs to do real things with Juice Robinson when he comes back. So that's we're gonna do that. And you're gonna break up the Acclaimed at some point because you're gonna go follow the recipe of Orange Cassidy. You're gonna have Bowens versus Caster. Caster's gonna be the heel with the heel wraps. I like that. But eventually, they're going to save each other when one gets attacked down the road, and they're gonna reunite and be stronger than ever, like the Usos will.
I could see that. You can't it's hard to boo Anthony Bowens in general. So that's more it would be
You
easier for
actually
the
can't. You'll
fans.
get canceled. You're not allowed to boo him.
That one's more digestible for sure.
Hmm. Okay, I get the next one, and oh, daddy.
Let's see. Let's
the
see.
the king of gimmicks and the king of reinventions. Well, the latest one, he was going to get canceled, and everybody was booing him and hating his man chest and everything else. So we got now the learning tree. We got Chris Jericho and his first disciple of King of Big Bill, the Redwood, and look, man, Big Bill needed help in the worst way, and I love how they took a real life issue and they actually went with it. And so this is kayfabe but real, and great disciple. Um, the Jericho thing, they were at the Golden Jets with Kenny Omega. I was like kind of on, and then you had the whole Lion Hook thing, and I was like on, and then we got rid of Judas and man, people hate the learning tree. So you know what? I love the learning tree. I think it's freaking awesome. I want to learn under the learning tree. Please teach me a way. So you got enough of these freaking dudes lying around, most of the people on this list. So I think this is freaking genius. It's really the second coming of the Jericho Appreciation Society, which was freaking awesome. But I like the JAS, and this is now let's make another quasi JAS, but call it the learning tree and make it like kind of cultish or whatever. And I got the guys to add to the learning tree.
Oh, okay. I'm excited for this. Okay.
Well, it's cultish, right? When you think cultish and you think religion and Ring of Honor, who do you think of?
Oh.
They
Oh.
need some learning tree real bad, don't they?
Vincent and Dutch.
Vincent and Dutch, Vincent and
Oh,
Dutch. That's how you bring them to the roster. With Jericho, they need that. They need that mouthpiece. And I remember watching them in Toronto when they were on the Ring of Honor Dark, and I love those guys, the Righteous. So the Righteous is your
yeah.
next entrance for with Big Bill, and that's how you make it very cultish. And boom, it's gonna work. So that's my thing. That's who I'm gonna protect with the Learn Tree, and that's how I'm gonna keep the Learn Tree going. What are your thoughts on that subject matter?
First off, I love the idea of going the cultish route with it. And for them, so it's Chris Jericho, it's Big Bill. Right
This is
there's
coming from a
one and
guy who
two.
wrote a book called The Bible 3.0. So yeah, I got it.
Oh yeah. And Bill, in theory, he is playing that Jake Hager role from the JAS. Only this time around, it's not so corny in a sense. Jericho Appreciation Society, these guys all just appreciate Jericho. Is that the premise of this group? The learning tree, the same thing, at least now has a name that fits the sort of moniker. We know what they're doing. Okay, Jericho is teaching these guys. That's what's going on here. It's not a group of, standouts that are appreciating this man. It's the learning tree. Shout out Brian Myers, the original learning tree, but also with the righteous, it's gonna be it would have a little bit of an edge to it. And you mentioned the righteous, and I threw up, for those watched along, I threw up a little nod. I think it could grow even bigger. We talk about growing the cult. The original AEW cult, the Dark Order, has now sort of subsided to three members, Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver. But imagine the righteous whipping them into shape and making them get more serious the way that Brody Lee once tried to do. Could add them. Could add them.
The thing about Evil Uno and Gang is if you're gonna have a big size faction, you have to have X number of jobbers that'll go along with it, and those are your jobbers. Fine, I will. If the righteous are in there, you need some extra jobbers. The Dark Order ain't doing much these days, so I'm cool with that.
Sadly, no.
No,
Yeah.
so now so with Big Bill, you got the righteous and you got the Dark Order. That's a big enough faction for me. Done.
Enough manpower.
That's right. That's a
Jericho
true.
wouldn't have to wrestle any matches. He could just send his dogs in.
No, it's enough. That's enough branches. That's you got 6 branches, which by the way doesn't sound that different than the schism. By the way, remember one root, 6 branches.
And I think
Hmm.
two-thirds of the schism are available as well, potentially.
Well, the Joe Gacy, the talk on the street is he's going to be joining the Wyatt Six. So Uncle Howdy is back, and Joe Gacy gets in there. He's gonna be joining Nikki Cross and them. And man, so if I have a choice, Wyatt Six all day long. Number two, Learning Tree. Number three, Schism. Oh, the Schism guys are around back to they just wrestled on Collision not that long ago.
That's who I'm
The English
talking
dudes,
about.
yeah, they're around. They're
Yeah.
around. But you know what? I think they're kind of treed out after the schism. So I don't think they're going to be joining the learning tree. But you know what? They should because otherwise they're going to be wrestling some Ring of Honor dark matches, and that's their future, unfortunately. Turning next to one of my favorite factions, I love that they should be doing more. And they're always feuding with somebody, and they feud with them and they lose and nothing else happens, and that's the House of Black. So
Oh, yeah.
I love me House of Black. Love the House of Black. So
Yes.
how are we gonna fix? We need to help the House of Black because it ain't going. There's nothing going with them. So please help them help themselves. Van
It's re
Landon, what would you do with them?
it's real fun seeing what's going on with the House of Black in May of 2024 currently, as they are currently in feud with Adam Copeland over the TNT title. It seems as though they're hinting at Malachi, but we've gotten to see some two very awesome matches with Buddy Matthews, Brody King, Adam Copeland, and I think it's pretty cool for Adam Copeland, who was in sort of notable fan of the House of Black when they came up and did interviews saying that he did enjoy what they were doing, thought it was very cool. We know that Adam's a big Game of Thrones fan, and Adam created the Judgment Day not too shortly long after the House of Black, and people always made the comparisons. Judgment Day has done a lot well for themselves since then, and we've sort of seen the House of Black plateau, it seems. I think they got to go back to being spooky, just being guys that are gonna come out, be a little mysterious, turn the lights off, attack people, beat people down ruthlessly. That's what the House of Black was born and bred on. Maybe we don't have to necessarily do an eye patch thing or this person's blind every time we do the mist or people turn evil because of the mist. I understand that that's been an ongoing storyline. It's how Sky Blue found her edge, among others, but like maybe not every time because it does take a little long to get places. Julia Hart was another one who got the mist, then turned evil, joined them. Like, is that what happens? Does Malachi spray the mist and do people join the house? Because not everyone's done that. So I think just ironing out some of these patches in the House of Black storytelling and going back to the roots, it would be very good for them, to use their numbers advantage and defeat Adam Copeland for that TNT title. He can move on to other things, bigger or better. And I mean, it saves the house from just competing for the trios title, which
The
is
house always wins.
the house always wins. Which exactly, they go for the trios title and win it. And then what? Death Triangle?
Okay, I got the two guys to add to House of Black. So we either have two choices. We either have to disband the House of Black and have inner fighting, or we have to make them stronger. So the two guys on the outs in their respective factions who could add credibility and they need a change of scenery bad. I could see them. Killswitch and Wardlow get misted and go to the House of Black. Now, if you got the House of Black with those two on your side, and all that's a pretty freaking interesting faction to me. So I think you either have to get grow by numbers a little bit more, or you got to disband. That's where I'm at with the House of Black.
I mean, grow by numbers. I like the sound of that. And if it's through the mist, do it. Lean into it. Mist everybody. And then garner your soldiers. I like those names though.
Pretty interesting because they got to put them somewhere, and
If
they're
they
not going to survive on their own. They've learned we've learned Wardlow will not be able to do it on his own. It's just not going to happen. Madcap Wardlow, as I call him, because he's really just Madcap Moss. I'm convinced he's the same person, by the way. Unless Madcap Moss wants to come to AEW and they want to form a tag team and call them the Madcaps, House of Black. So turning off to another guy who could join the House of Black, by the way, because he's ripe for a gimmick change as well, and they've been hinting at it for a while now. A guy that I used to make fun of all the time is the worst wrestler on AEW and the worst gimmick until I saw him live win a belt, and then I was sold and freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy.
Ooh.
But things are starting to get stale, and Don Callis is whispering in his ear. And we know that there's been a little bit of inner fighting in the Don Callis family. I like heel Orange Cassidy joining Don Callis. This is working for me on a lot of levels, actually. So I think that is where Orange Cassidy's going for a while, and he'll go back to being a face. But let's try him as a heel for a while. And Trent Beretta can come back and say, I was right. I told you the whole time. And Trent was actually right. So that's where I'm going with Orange Cassidy. Van, are you feeling that?
I'm feeling that. Longtime listeners and the ones who listened to me on here in the past know Orange Cassidy, my AEW dream match, holds true. Although him switching it up, not being so family friendly, maybe not putting the hands in the pockets, still being Orange Cassidy, but with an edge to him, and with Don Callis, the human despicable me villain that he is. I would definitely love to see what an evil Orange is capable of.
Do you think that that is where it's headed? Is that you? Are you agreeing that first of all that's better for him, but more importantly, is that what is actually going to happen, or do you think that the marriage between Callus and Orange won't happen?
I mean, I want it to. In thinking what will happen, it might just be the bait and switch for Trent to be the Don Callis member. But does Trent need that? Trent can talk, so no, he doesn't need a mouthpiece. Does he need to just rejoin a faction? He just broke off of one. No, I think Trent is supposed to have a meaningful singles heel run. He was great in Japan as a solos act. We know what he's capable of because he's been put as the prominent wrestler out of the best friends, non Orange Cassidy. He was always the one getting the singles matches against the Ray Phoenixes or the John Moxleys.
Right,
He would
Phoenix,
always put
Phoenix,
up
Phoenix, Phoenix.
Phoenix. And he would always put on these great matches. And now he's going to put on these great matches as a bad guy. It could just be the bait and switch to try to get into Orange Cassidy's head. Psych, I was with Trent the whole time. I'm hoping that's not the case because I would love to see an evil Orange. But I mean, hey, we will see.
I feel like the Trent Beretta thing is just too obvious. I feel like
That's what
he's
I,
because he
yeah.
fits the mold of all the Don Callis kind of guys, the Takashita, and all my boys in there, Kyle
Fletcher,
Fletcher,
Hobbs. Yeah.
and I like Hobbs, but like all he is another madcap slash Wardlow. Really, like let's call him what he is. A lady, and she is a lady. One that I feel like she's been lost for a little while. There's a lot of hype around her when she was coming back originally, and now she's here, and she's kind of Willow's sidekick, and she's kind of Stokely's sidekick. What are we gonna do with Kris Statlander? Because she's just kind of floating around doing a heck of a lot of nothing.
Love Kris Statlander.
Me
She is
too.
one of my favorite females on the AEW roster. Uh like her whole aura to me is just cool. She's got a great presentation. The sign language is super cool. It's awesome that she does that. And her moniker, more than a woman,
Mhm.
there's legs with that. She is more than a woman because she was an alien. Get it? That's the whole, but she's also a pretty strong lady. And her matches reflect that. If, for example, if Kris Statlander were to be wrestling Riho, it's going to be a predominantly physically dominating match for Statlander over Riho. And that's just the way it is. And compared to the AEW women's roster, Statlander's bigger than most physically. So for her to, in this current state, be Willow's sidekick, it is a bit of a like, oh man, because Kris Statlander beat Jade Cargill. And that statistic alone is enough to do a lot of stuff across all of AEW. Doesn't matter which title. So for her right now, they have literally took the pedal off the gas and said, no, no, no. Even though you beat Jade and you are just a dominant force in the women's division, we have to take the foot off the gas. You're Willow's friend right now. You're gonna be doing stuff with Stokely. You're gonna be hanging out ringside. All this building to Willow and Mercedes Monet at Double or Nothing. She's also getting intermingled with the Orange Cassidy Trent stuff and trying to separate it, trying to be the voice of reason amongst all that. Because as we know, Chuck Taylor is now gone. So the only voice of reason in Best Friends is Kris Statlander now. Rocky Romero doesn't count, sadly. But it's this weird role. She's on our screens, but she's not wrestling. And I think, I mean, just give her some matches. She's going to stand out in the ring, but in terms of getting her a story, she can't just be Willow's friend forever.
I
And
got
Mercedes is probably going to win the title. Does Kris step up to try to take that on? I don't know where this goes for her. What say you? Because I'm curious.
Oh, I got the story for you. Ready?
Yes.
Oh, Willow's gonna drop the belt to Monet, all right.
Oh,
But with the help of Kris Statlander, who has Stokely whispering in her ear, and Stokely was right all along, and Stokely's going to go back to his heelish ways and bring Kris Statlander to the dark side, and then setting up a whole Willow Kris Statlander feud, and that's going to be freaking awesome.
yes, it would.
Oh, yes, it will, because Willow transition at best, and they got to put the belt on Monet for whatever reason, and they'll deal with that. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. You got to have Willow backstab. That's the only way it's gonna go down. And Kris is not sick and fiddle to her. And you know, Willow, I've been kissing your butt all this time, and you don't realize how good I am. And Stokely's been right, and so now me and Stokely are gonna take you out, Willow, once and for all.
Yes. Ah, I like that. I love the sound of that.
Because you notice that Kris Statlander's starting to wear a little more skimpier outfits, and she's starting to go a little bit. And that means usually a heel run is coming. So
And like I said, she's hidden in plain sight. She's there. She's in the Stokely segments. She's there trying to be the voice of reason with evil Trent. Like what are these all gonna intermingle at some point?
I
I
think
guess time will tell.
Trent can hang out with Stokely and with evil Kris Statlander, and that would work out a lot better for him and for them. So
No more
next,
hugs.
nope, no more hugs. And Orange, hopefully with Don Callis. That'd be cool. And that would really stabilize the Don Callis family, if they need, because you know that they're gonna lose their big meal ticket any day now, right? Osprey's gone, like he's not really part of
Oh,
there. So
yeah.
yeah.
He's
So Orange,
barely.
so they need a cover boy. And it's not gonna be Fletcher. It's gonna be Orange Cassidy. Blackpool Combat Club. I'm going to keep it very short and sweet. You either find a dude from Blackpool who's going to run your organization, or you disband and move on to it ain't working out anymore. And I don't get it. And Wheeler Yuta's gone, and they're all doing kind of their own thing, anyways. And I don't understand why it's called Blackpool Combat Club, because the guy from Blackpool is now in WWE. So I'm done with Blackpool Combat Club. I want to move on. The end.
Seconds. I second that. Uh, Blackpool, he's in WWE now.
Yep. Let's
It's
move on.
like if we still played Cody's song just because fans like it. What are we doing?
It's like me wearing a wedding ring and I got divorced 2 years ago. She's with
It,
somebody else. Let's move on. You gotta take off the ring. Let's go on.
what are we
You're,
doing here?
you're not married anymore. It's over.
Where's Mox?
He left you. He left you guys. It's over. It's over. The Don Callis Jobbers. We agree that Will Ospreay is pretty much not part of this faction anymore. Takeshita, got a push for a while, then now he takes a lot of losses. Callis likes to watch them fight each other. Is this thing blowing up? Is Don Callis going to fire all of them? Is only Will Hobbs going to stay on? How are they going to remedy because I still see so much potential in the Don Callis family. How would you fix the Don Callis family?
Don Callis family just needs to iron it out. And I think there's a few ways to do it. So Kyle Fletcher, Will Hobbs, Takeshita, Will Ospreay. That's the current family. Count Will Ospreay out. He's gone. He's gonna go be a babyface. He's gonna go do his own thing. The fans love him. He's great. Awesome. Great stuff, Will. Takeshita works perfectly with Don Callis. He is sort of the anti Kenny Omega for when Kenny comes back. Like that feud is already ready to go. He just needs to start winning more and showing off what he's capable of. Powerhouse Hobbs, sort of the same deal. Stop putting these guys in meaningless tag matches with one another against established teams. If it's going to be the Don Callis family, which is very influenced by the Heenan family, we have to acknowledge these guys as singles competitors with Don Callis as the managerial role. Stop forcing these guys to be a collective team when there's nothing that makes them a collective team. What does Takeshita, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Kyle Fletcher have in common? They're in the Don Callis family, and that's it. That's where it ends. Wait until and I'm forgetting his name right now. Wait until Big Mark Davis from Aussie Open comes back, and boom, there's your tag team. Kyle Fletcher, Mark Davis, Don Callis manages them. There's that. And then Will can just be disappointed, like, oh, you little guys, why'd you guys stay with Don Callis? You should have joined with me. Have Powerhouse Hobbs. Have him go win the FTW title, have him go win some belts, and have Don Callis be his second. Takeshita, same thing. Have him win belts, have Don Callis be his second. And then if Don wants to come out and say, this is the Don Callis family, they are all champions because they're so great, then it makes sense why they're all together. But stop just forcing a connection that doesn't need to happen and embrace the Heenan family aesthetic that you're going for.
Now, would you like my answer in fantasy or you want it in reality?
Oh, well, if it's reality, is the whole gimmick gonna just get crumpled up into a ball and thrown out the window in a few months?
Not quite. This is where it's going. They've been hinting to us. They gave you the roadmap. You're gonna end up in a pay per view. This is where I sing it. It's a pay per view. You're gonna have Will Ospreay with his friend Kyle Fletcher against Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita. That's where
Oh,
it's going. Fletcher's gonna stick up to his friend. Ospreay's gonna leave. Dallas is gonna like to Fletcher. You gonna stay with me? Are you weak? Are you strong? He's gonna slap him around a little bit. Fletcher's gonna say, I don't need this anymore. And he's gonna go join Ospreay. They're gonna tag team for a while. Then Ospreay can go off by himself. And then and then when he gets into trouble, his friends from Aussie Open will come and protect him. They'll be the Aussie FTR. Okay, so that's where they're gonna go. And so we gotta bring Orange Cassidy now to replace Ospreay. And if Wardlow gets bored in the kingdom, doesn't get sucked up by the House of Black, then he can go join the Don Callis family. We need somebody along. We need another meaty kind of guy to go along with Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow, your next tag team champions in that case. But that horrible match of Kyle Fletcher and Ospreay versus Hobbs and Takeshita, you can mark that in your calendar. It is going to happen, and it's going to be freaking horrible. And fans are going to call it awesome for whatever reason. You cannot have Don Callis go face, please. I First of all, I love Don Callis on commentary, by the way. On Dynamite, when you don't have Taz there and you have Don Callis is a really strong commentator. You know what? He's pretty freaking good on there. So I'm golden with that. So let's put on Don Callis to stay as a heel. And I think we got our setup. Boom.
hey, I'm into that. And you're right. Once Will goes, it's Orange that's in there. That's still my hope over here.
Let's pray. Let's pray heel Orange Cassidy for a while until he turns face again. And the last guy in today's episode, and where's Waldo? And apparently Mercedes Monet does not really want him back there. Is Sammy Guevara, but I think the Sex God is going to come back. I'm pretty sure he's going to come back. He's just going to need some sort of faction, but I think they'll have him for a while as a singles competitor. He's going to be taking a lot of losses. That's where I think it's going. And if I'm going to fix Sammy Guevara, if I'm going to give him any kind of shred of hope, it's going to be we need to find him another Spanish sort of dude to tag with and fight for the tag team belts. Somebody exciting, somebody help them forget about Mercedes Monet and those issues. So, but I've been hearing rumblings that people are saying Mercedes is there and she ain't gonna let him come back for his commentary on her back in the day. So, is Sammy coming back? And if so, is he gonna be doing anything?
Eh, that's a good point, and I forgot Sammy made those comments until you just reminded me.
Oh,
Although
my
Sasha,
sources keep reminding me, unfortunately.
jeez,
Hmm.
yeah, Sasha Banks was the name back then, but
Hmm.
Sammy Guevara, I love Sammy Guevara,
Me too.
and have always been a fan of his in-ring work and ability. Uh, it's it's weird. Sammy has been super beloved and super hated. He's been on both ends of the spectrum uh pretty pretty immensely. And fans usually have one way or the other opinions on him. I would love to see him back. He, I believe, was the first ever three-time TNT champion and was a pillar in the original.
Puller.
And because of that, he has equity, the same equity that all those other pillars have. Because of that just generalization that they were the pillars, they are forever established on AEW in that sense. I don't think he can come back and be play the good guy. I think the fans just won't accept him when he comes back. I could be wrong. They could bring him out in his hometown and it's a whole big celebration. But at the same time, it's going to be tough for fans to cheer for him when he does return. I would love to see him, maybe answer the Cope Open when he returns in losing defeat, but that's how you can start his rebuild story. Hey, I've been this champion 3 times. I'm answering the Cope Open. I lose. He goes on Twitter, digital media, extra, and cuts a promo. Yeah, I got to wrestle my childhood hero. So what? I lost. It's my time to rebrand. It's my time to refocus. He could do that. And that's when the fans have always got behind him because he seems like a genuine guy. And a lot of fans, I think, do see the genuineness in him. It's just, what is he going to be able to portray when he comes back?
I got the answer for you, Van Landon. And
Oh, let me hear it.
you're gonna be blown away. So, last thoughts of the day here. We had a lot of guys we fixed, and we even touched upon Daniel Garcia, who I would put in Blackpool Combat Club if they're gonna stay together because he needs that kind of. He was supposed to be in there originally. But if we're gonna fix old Sammy Guevara and we have to increase the size of this faction, and the way you described him, and they're scapegoating him, then where I see him going eventually, and you're gonna increase the size of the elite, that's the only place to put him. It's perfect. It's freaking perfect. So you bring in Sammy Guevara, and if you have to increase the size of the elite again, one more over several months, there's a guy who's a pillar and a guy that would love to see him as a heel. Finally, it's Darby Allin. So if you have to increase the size of the elite, yeah, just Guevara and Darby Allin to that group and put nobody else over. That's a pretty strong faction to me.
Guevara is perfect for the elite. I'm mad that I didn't think of that. That he is the perfect face for it.
He's a
His,
scapegoat. He's a scapegoat. He's another scapegoat.
yep. Fans would love to boo him. And you saw me throw up the 4 life because that's what that would be. That's some NWO type maneuver, and not in the bad way, in the good way. Go back and rewatch NWO. It was awesome. But that's some moves right there. If they brought in Guevara and potentially even Darby Allin, I
Dar-
mean that.
Darby Allin is a heel within the elite, and he's seen the dark side, and now they joined them and everything else. It gives him because he's nothing else to do now. Sting's gone, and he can't be Sting's buddy anymore. It's time for him to branch away and grow his own set of testicles, and that's the whole premise of the elite there. And we're gonna revolutionize, and he's a pillar, and he's finally accepted it. But I would stop there. I would not add anybody else, and not add these guys even for a while. Guevara, I don't bring him in for another 6, 8 months easy, and Darby another 6 months from there. Keep it really tight. But
Yeah,
you're gonna have that shock factor. That's the shock factor. Those kind of guys, you say those guys are faces. Because Lordy, if you put Guevara in the learning tree, oh boy, he's done. He's done,
that's
done,
the
done.
third one for him if he goes into that. No, no,
No
please
more.
no.
If I'm Guevara, I call block Chris Jericho a long time ago. He'd be like, Sammy, I got a good idea. Sammy, I got the perfect idea for us. If I'm Guevara, I hang up the phone. Chris, lose my number. I don't want to talk to you whatsoever. I'm done with you killing my career. It's done. Leave me alone. Go take Big Bill and go on your learning tree and bring the schism with you, the learning schism. We'll call it the learning schism from now on. So you got the learning schism. No, no, no. I'm gonna be part of the elite, and I'm gonna join upper management, and I'm freaking changing that world right now.
I'm I would love it if that happened. Sammy and the Elite. It that might as well write itself.
Tony Khan, you just got $1 million ideas over this last episode for free. Give us a call. You know where to find us, right? At D Van Landon,
Please, at the Van Landon everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, X, TikTok, Twitch, everything. You could find me there.
at Chosen Lawyer. And Tony, you know what? For $1 million each, we're happy to write your shows for you, and you can just go nurse your neck. That's all you need to do in life. And maybe some people can write in and tell us your comments, and we want to hear from the fans. Do you agree with our predictions or how we're gonna rehabilitate AEW wrestlers? What would you do? And can somebody please explain to me what the heck WWE speed is? Because I still don't understand. Is that a 24/7? Is that a what is that exactly? I'm losing track of these weirdo.
WWE speed. Wasn't that what Shawn Michaels had back in the 90s?
Isn't that fast lane slash what was it? W
Great Balls of
519,
Fire. Was
519, 619. I don't know, man.
yeah.
Like so. This is Professional Wrestling, the podcast. Check out at D Van Landon. You'll find out where he's wrestling. You can come cheer him. You can come boo him. But you better buy him a hot dog and a beer, and then he'll be your friend. And we'll see you back next week on Professional Wrestling, the podcast.